I tell you, there is nothing like that morning coffee, fresh coffee. There's nothing like it. For those who enjoy coffee, you know what I'm talking about. All right. So they had, or they're having their dinner right now, the banquet in China. It's already underway. Maybe over. Who knows? I don't think so. But there is some interesting information that's coming out. Let me just do the pop outs. Xi made it clear how he stands on Taiwan, that it could become a conflict with the United States. The president said it would be an issue if not handled properly, which Xi agreed. He said the president pretty much said there will be a conflict if Taiwan is handled improperly, whatever that means. And Xi said that as long as it's handled properly, there can be stable relations between the United States and China. That is China's main focal point. It is Taiwan. I was so right yesterday talking about Taiwan. I was also right about something else, and I'm going to get into it. I need my glasses. About China, less dependent on oil coming from the Strait and more from the U.S. Duh. I saw that one coming too. I mean, it's not hard to figure out. It really isn't. The last thing China, good morning, Marianne. The last thing China or the United States wants is a conflict. And I hate to say it like this, but everybody else is thrown under the bus. It's all about power and keeping power and not weakening themselves. You know, it always, and people say money. It's always about money. It's always about power. I mean, no duh. Look at thousands of years of history. The conquerors, the wealth, or exploiting the wealth and plunging into the wealth, and this goes back thousands of years, by the conquerors. I mean, is that something new? People say it's about the money. It's always been about the money.
Good morning.
Alexa, stop. Is that like surprising? You know, when people say stuff, it makes me like laugh because it's always been about that. Resources, wealth, money, corruption, greed, power, control. I mean, when people say stuff like that, it's like, it kind of I shake my head because it's always been that way. Unfortunately for the conquered. But that's just the way it's always been historically and up to this point. So are we surprised? I mean, are people surprised like all of a sudden, oh, it's all about money, power, corruption? Look at history. Territorial grabs, resource grabs, wealth. Like I said, resources. It could be food. Could be water. Could be anything. So, you know, just to make that clear, because I think some people like all of a sudden think, oh, it's all about the money. It's always been about money, power, greed, corruption, control, resources, territory. Always. So this is coming, I think, I got to see what the source is of this article. I think it could be the AP. Trump and Xi had a good meeting according to the White House official, but the official readout has no mention of Taiwan, though it was mentioned by others. Iran was also discussed between the leaders, with both sides agreeing that the Strait of Hormuz should remain open. This is a position China has already held. The two sides agreed that the Strait of Hormuz must remain open to support the free flow of energy. President Xi also made it clear that China's opposition to the militarization of the strait and any effort to charge a toll for its use, and he expressed interest in purchasing more American oil to reduce China's dependence on the Strait in the future. We brought that up yesterday. Venezuela, U.S. Remember, we broke down the percentages on how much they depend on Iran. It's 15%, but the rest of the Persian Gulf is like close to 40%. That's a lot of oil. That's 55%. But if they can find another source that boosts out their production, like Venezuela, which is going to take time. Remember, Venezuela is the number one country with oil reserves. Number one. You might think it's Saudi Arabia, Iran, whatever. U.S. is 10 on the actual list. Barrels in reserves. We have 83 billion estimated. Venezuela has 330 billion. Just to put it in context. Both countries agreed that Iran could never have a nuclear weapon. It also uncovered investments, economic cooperation, fentanyl, and increased Chinese purchase of American farm products. You better believe that. Soybean. The bilateral meeting between the two leaders, that was last night, lasted about 2 hours and 15 minutes, according to pool reporters. According to a bulletin from a news agency in China, Xi emphasized that the issue of Taiwan is the most important issue in China-U.S. relations. Saying that if they are handled improperly, the two countries will clash or even come to conflict, pushing the entire China-U.S. relationship into a very dangerous situation. Let's see what I'm just reading. But the president also responded that saying if it's handled improperly, it could lead. That's why he said, but if handled properly. So this is going to be interesting what this means. Improperly, properly. We made clear to them, that any support for Iran, this is from Rubio. We made clear to them, that any support for Iran would obviously be detrimental for our relationship. That obviously is going to come up in this conversation. So that's what Rubio said before they left. So this is a lot of pretext stuff before he even got there. And then it's going into who was there. Okay. Let's see what you guys are saying. I know a former North Vietnamese soldier who told me the Americans were as tough as they come, the Chinese were pushovers. Well, I don't care what anyone says or has an opinion of. Good luck. You think I'm going to bet everything on what another person's opinion is? Absolutely. I'm not going to put relations with another nation based on what somebody's opinion is as pushovers. Absolutely not. I mean, everybody has an opinion. Even in our military, there are people that are Democrats and people that are Republicans. Ask the Democrats what they might think privately about the war. They're not going to have the same opinion as a Republican, so everybody's going to have a different opinion no matter what. I would never, ever underestimate the Chinese. Never. Never underestimate the adversary or the enemy. Ever. That's a vital, huge mistake has been displayed in Iran. So, we thought this would be over in 4 to 6 weeks. He had to postpone the first meeting with Xi because he thought everything was going to be over by then. Oopsie, not so fast. Never underestimate. You know what I mean? But I get what you're saying, but I would never. Looks like we are getting leadership challenge. West Streeting has just resigned, opening the way of him to challenge Starmer. The madness begins. Tusi's gonna cover you all over that. Oh, you like my hat? Wasn't expensive either. You know, I think you know how much I paid for this total, $10. Well, Thomas, I have to go. And Thomas, I'm not trying to offend you or anything. You know, I'm just reacting to what you put. I'm not, and I get what you're saying. But I wonder what the Vietnamese would say about the United States troops back in that time. You know, it's. I have to go to the doctor in 2.5 hours. Then I have a meeting at 12. The afternoon is open. We'll see how. Remember, it's 8:33 p.m. in China. Supposedly they're gonna meet again tomorrow, have tea, and then he's leaving back to come to the U.S. So, yeah, I could look what I paid, to be honest. Some people will exaggerate. I'll actually tell you what I pay for the cap. To be honest. What do you mean cannot display current status? What the hell is going on with Amazon? Some BS. View invoice. All right. $12.47, which 99 cents was shipping and handling. The cap was $10.99. Tax was 49 cents, so it came to a whopping total of $12.47 for this cap. And it's a nice quality cap. So that's cheap. What do you think they would charge for a cap like this if you were on a vendor on the street and let's say there was some event with Marco Rubio or a political event? You know what they're going to try to charge for this? $20, $25. You know what I'm saying? Good morning, Diesel. So let me just read what, because I got a notification. And there's some stuff to show, but it's private accounts. Just like Goldie made a very valid point, because it turns out, I was watching Goldie yesterday, that whole Pope thing was misleading, because there was never an image, a photo, that was AI, of him shaking the hand. And those awards they give out, that's standard policy by the church, to give it to everyone who's a diplomat representing, even though I would never give that piece of any award, period. Never. Yeah, 20 on the street. But you got to remember, some of the caps are embroidered. You know, they're stitched. Those are nice. This is just an iron-on patch sticker. But it's still nice. Anyway, good morning, Diesel. He says 25 plus. Witch Moon, Thomas. Anyway, let me just read what came in, because I want to see what source it was. Because I get news coming in on the phone all over the place from different sources. It'd be nice if it loaded. There it goes. It's NBC News. Just saying. I got to tell you who the source is. I'm just going to read it. I'm going to, summarize it. President Donald Trump discussed the Iran war and blockade of the Strait during the summit with Xi, Rubio told NBC, adding that the United States was not asking for China's help with Iran. Quote, the Chinese side said they are not in favor of militarizing the Straits of Hormuz, and they're not in favor of a tolling system, and that's our position. I'm skimming. They also discussed, of course, Taiwan and the case of Jimmy Lai. Lai? He was sentenced to 20 years in Hong Kong this year. We are not, this is what Rubio said, we are not immune to global oil prices at some point because we do buy from the global market, but other countries around the world are paying a much higher price, Rubio said. They've got to get involved in this as well. Totally agree. Or are they just going to stand by and just let shit happen? But the president didn't ask him for anything. We're not asking for China's help. We don't need their help. See, this is what I said about the Rubio connection. I was wondering what was going to happen with him and Xi. Because Rubio was sanctioned. That's why when I saw them shaking hands last night, I was like, oh shit. Let me just keep reading. We are not asking for China's help. We don't need their help, said Rubio, who has been under Chinese sanctions since 2020 over his criticism of China's human rights record. Ahead of Trump's trip, China indicated that the sanctions would not prevent Rubio from traveling to Beijing because they concerned his actions as a senator, not as Secretary of State. Loophole. So if he's president, it definitely won't be an issue, will it? Rubio said Trump and Xi found common ground on Iran, with China reiterating its position to Tehran developing nuclear weapons. A Chinese readout of the meeting had no direct mention of Iran, saying that only the two leaders exchanged views on major international and regional issues, including the Middle East situation. What the president's making clear is if the Iranians think they are going to use our domestic politics to pressure him into a bad deal, that's not going to happen. No change on Taiwan. I already read clashes or even conflicts if the issue is not handled carefully. Beijing's readout. See, this is where it's a little gray. Like most countries, the U.S. has no formal relations with Taiwan. But it is the self-ruling democracy's biggest international backer and arms supplier. Though the U.S. is legally bound to provide Taiwan with defensive weapons, it has long maintained a policy of strategic ambiguity when it comes to whether its military would defend the island directly in the event of a Chinese attack. So we give them aid, military aid, but that's about it. As far as us actually defending them with our military, our policies have not changed, Rubio said. It's been pretty consistent across multiple presidential administrations and remains consistent now. Rubio said the U.S. arms sales in Taiwan did not feature prominently in the meeting on Thursday. And then they spoke about Jimmy Lai, whose case has become the symbol of Beijing's crackdown and dissent in Hong Kong, a former British colony, returned to Chinese rule in 1997. He's a prominent critic of its ruling Communist Party and has been described as the mastermind of pro-democracy protests that roiled Hong Kong for months in 2019. So they're also talking about this individual. The doctor is just standard checkup, and I need my medications. What's going on? I'm just looking at chat now. What's up, Eugene? Okay. If we was to buy caps for a leadership, we would have to get a new one every year in the UK. Oh my gosh. It's such a mess. I know that's not, I'm laughing, but it's actually a very serious point, John, but I get it because it's almost laughable. And good morning, Sarah and John. Sure sounds like early talk of separation of the two, saying we'll sell weapons to them, and that's about it. But that's always been the policy. Defense measures by selling them aid, military aid. But that's been the policy. Anyway, I'm gonna see who the hell this is, but who is he? He's a here reporter. Xi Jinping has agreed to provide Trump whatever Trump needs to end the conflict in Iran. POTUS tells Fox. We need to listen to this. So he must have been on Fox News. I don't know. I'm going to play the clip. Let me... I hate when that happens.
So since the meeting went well, I'll go...
Hold on. I want to play this whole clip. The way they're doing it is terrible.
To our CEOs. I did think...
But I said, what were the takeaways? And he said that President Xi will help with Iran. He said, quote, whatever Trump needs, committed to buy U.S. soybeans, more oil, LNG, which is the liquefied natural gas, and other energy. He agreed to buy 200 jets of the 737 MAX jets from Boeing. He said 200. Originally, it was 500. He surprised Xi, and he invited the president of China to go and meet with all of our U.S. CEOs, Lawrence. Wow. And Trump said that they were all impressive and they were all speaking.
Well, that's some good news because that means that the president, he always uses the carrot and the stick.
Yeah, is that leverage? Like this is our power?
So since the meeting went well, I'll go introduce you to our CEOs. I did think that the one takeaway, and we saw this from the foreign minister, or at least the spokesperson for China, is that it seems like the most pressing issue for China is Taiwan. And they are contending anything or any negotiation based on our response to Taiwan. Now, they're in a little pickle, Brian, because they need the strait more than we do. So it is in their interest to get some type of agreement between the United States and Iran.
So the Chinese people daily, with it usually, if they're mad at us, if China's mad at us, you see it in the Chinese people daily. And so far, almost everything's positive.
Right.
And they even project, like, what would a successful summit look like? So that shows you the government does not, that wants to go the well. But would
you remember what I said, and people were like, is Taiwan a chip in everything with China? Remember we were talking about that? You stay the hell out of our business in Iran, Cuba, what we need to do, and we'll look the other way if you decide to take Taiwan. We give Taiwan the ability to try to defend itself, but that's about it. Would they? We talked about this a few days ago, before this was happening. Taiwan is number one for them. They want that back. If you remove the Taiwan, I'm just saying, and I feel for the Taiwanese people. I'm not saying that. But that's always been a major obstacle Taiwan. And there can be other sweet little aspects of a deal too. The oil, the soybean, you name it. Business, tariffs. We were talking about this, and look. Now it's not such like exaggerated talk, because it looks like, what did I say, behind closed doors, what they might negotiate on. But the thing is, the president has 2+ years left. Would they take Taiwan before he leaves office? Would that even happen? Gotta wonder. I think they make an agreement to allow manufacturing to get a set. And I said that. Diesel, remember, I did say that. Allow their companies to finish building their infrastructure here in the United States, bringing all these investments of these companies with the chips and producers. There's another element here that people kind of forget, our dependency on China, the world really, rare earth, which we need for military equipment. They control a massive amount of distribution, everything. You could look it up yourselves. It's like 70-something%. Even though, yeah, you hear about us going to Greenland because it's full of rare earth. Ukraine has it. All these other locations have it. Alexa, how much control does China have on rare earth?
China dominates the rare earth market, controlling about 91% of global separation and refining production and 94% of permanent magnet manufacturing. The country also holds the world's largest known reserves at 44 million tons and leads in rare earth-related patents, accounting for 81% of global filings.
Over 90% in refining, 94% in another area. China has that dominance. Alexa, what are rare earth elements used for?
Rare earth elements are essential for many modern technologies. They're used in powerful magnets for electronics and electric vehicles,
military,
catalysts for cleaner car emissions, and advanced materials for defense and renewable energy systems.
Defense.
Want to know which specific technologies rely on them most heavily?
What about the military use?
Rare earth elements are crucial for military tech. They're used in powerful magnets for aircraft, ships, and guided missiles. An F-35 fighter jet requires over 400 kilograms of rare earth elements for its systems. Want to know about specific military systems that rely on these elements?
Yes.
Rare earth elements are crucial in military systems like radar, sonar, and laser guidance. They're used in electric motors and actuators for aircraft, drones, naval vessels, and precision-guided munitions. Would you like to know about specific...
Alexa, stop. That's how important it is. And China has world dominance with that. You can argue whatever you want. The facts are the facts. Go look them up yourselves. The United States has a heavy dependency on China for that. That's a fact. People could come up with any swing you want. Those are the facts. Look it up yourself. Why I asked Alexa? Because I've done research on this. When we signed the deal with Ukraine last April 30th on the minerals deal. That's why I wrote the president about it. And they wrote me back. So this is not something I'm just coming up with. I've been researching this for a while, which I did get a letter back from the president. It's signed, but it's not, I'm not thinking it's signed by the president, but it has a signature on it. Because I brought up the minerals deal. The minerals deal is incredible. That is unbelievable what we did with Ukraine, if it ever comes to fruition. U.S. companies are going, this is a big boon for the economy of the United States if it ever happens. If any kind of peace is established in Ukraine. You need to read it. Download it. The deal. It was signed last year, April 30th. Read the comments above. They just found 100, what? hundreds of thousands of metric tons of rare earth on the East Coast. I saw that. I read that article weeks ago. I remember, but what? Remember, it's communism taking over. I have read a lot of how they treat. Of course, human rights has always been brought up when it comes to China or any other communist country. We are not fine. It's not. It's a fine, but it's not as much as we really need. We cannot exaggerate things. We are not fine. That's why we're looking to take over other areas and other countries to get more. And it's also strategic in nature, especially when we're dealing with the Russians. China moved into Afghanistan after we left, taking rare earth materials there also. Russia is definitely looking into all the resources in Ukraine. USA has one company. USAR. Yes, the whole wars in the Middle East were actually because of rare earth in Afghanistan. Ukraine owes us forever, essentially. These super magazines are super critical if a lot of tech. Remember, China, it's not just about the rare earth, it's the refining methods. There's a process. And we need it. And they have stranglehold globally. Do the research. Don't take my word for it. We can spin it and put it any way we want to. The facts still bear. We have to create less dependency on China. And yes, the East Coast, Greenland, other locations, Venezuela. We have to do it so we can cut off our dependency on China. The Ukraine deal is outstanding for the United States. And people, this is what bugs me. People say, well, what's in it for the United States over Ukraine? Are you kidding me? They have, I read, and I would have to do more research, 12 to 15 trillion dollars worth of resources. You don't think that's a ka-ching money sign that the United States sees? Russia sees it too. Matter of fact, when I was doing the digging on this, after we signed the deal with Ukraine, April 30th of last year, we were talking, it was Witkoff, Kushner, I can't remember who else was there, trying to work a side deal with the Russians if they were to take that occupied territory in Ukraine. The United States was looking to make a deal with Russia to get access to the resources that they occupied. So not only were we already signed a deal with Ukraine, we were also working with the Russians trying to make a deal. If remember all that talk about the lines are drawn, you take this. Remember all that talk? That was for a reason. Because we had an in with the Russians, allegedly, to make a deal with them to get access to that territory. So we had to deal with the Ukrainians and the Russians. Either way, it's win-win for the United States. Do the research. I did, and that's why I wrote the president. And I wrote the president in the first administration, so they know me. They know me. All right, I'm not going to keep reading above. Can anyone tell me the last time the Chinese did anything military? Okay, so you're going to base, because the Chinese haven't done anything militarily, you're going to take a chance because we haven't seen what the Chinese can do or cannot do based on that. Really? You're willing to gamble getting involved in a military conflict with China? Because they haven't gotten involved in some major operation militarily since Korea? So you're willing to bet everything based on that? I'm not. Absolutely not. A lot has happened since then. Now, I'll say on the flip side, so far the Chinese, but I'm not saying it's their best stuff, hasn't been very impressive in Iran or Venezuela. So far. But am I willing to wage a war based on that? Absolutely not. No way. Absolutely not. And it's in their neighborhood. It's not like it's a border country with us. We have to go there. They're right there. They have the strategic advantage. If this Iran thing is being dragged out the way it is, look at Iran. You think it's going to be easy with China? China's going to blockade. They have more naval vessels than the United States. They'll just block it up. And as far as that, how many people are in the military? And we're spread thin. How many people are in the military? How can you underestimate their training in China because you haven't seen it? So therefore, their warriors are not qualified or properly trained. That is not the way you go about making estimations on a possible future battlefield situation. That is crazy. I'm going to base it on that. I would never underestimate the enemy, period. Ever. Based on an assumption, they can't fight. They're not real true warriors. They'll be a walkover. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, they have one aircraft carrier. We had 3, and what happened with Iran? Stalemate. Straight. And this is Iran. And you don't think that blockade is going to be similar to what happens in Taiwan? They don't need aircraft carriers. Fucking China's right there. They don't need aircraft carriers. They can launch them from China. Again, you could be not impressed. That's your opinion. But are you willing to bet everything on that and put our military men and women at risk in a conflict with China? Based on that assumption? Absolutely not. No way. Yeah, China does a lot of shady shit, but so do we. Everybody, except, there are other countries that are just cowardice, like Starmer and Macron and others. We know how that works. I don't know. Look, again, Taiwan, if you look at it, it's right off their coast. Is that really, I'm just saying, I hate to say it like this, is that something worth going to war over? The United States with China over Taiwan? Is it? I hate to say it that way, but for the Taiwanese people, but would the Russians go to war over Cuba with the United States? I'm not talking about the Cold War. I'm not talking about the Cuban Missile Crisis right now. Do you think Russia would go to war with the United States over Cuba? It's right. They consider it part of their territory. It's right off their coast. So, you could look at this a lot of different ways. Really, you can. Do we go to war? Or do we do like we were saying a few days ago? Let them finish building their infrastructure here. American plants, bring those companies here. What is the value of Taiwan to us? I'm just saying this, and I hate to say it this way, but it's just a reality. Let them come here, and then China, after we have what we need here, involved with the Taiwanese. That's why when they said if done properly or improperly, that makes me think, what does that mean? Exactly what we were talking about. The investment here in the United States by the Taiwanese companies let them finish moving here, the value of Taiwan to us, and then I hate to say it like that, but that's just the way I look at it in a realistic way. No, they're not communists. You're totally right, Sean. So again, you could look at this in so many different ways. It's not easy.
But I said, what were the takeaways?
Okay,
and he
that
said
was-
that President Xi will help with.
So again, now let's see what happens when he gets back home, and if they do any public press conferences together before he leaves to come back to the United States tomorrow. And I wonder how Iran is interpreting all this. Because if they're jointly saying together, you cannot charge tolls, you cannot make it a militarized zone, the Strait of Hormuz, it's an open international waterway, you can't have a nuclear weapon, that's everything, they're agreeing with everything that we're saying. So what does Iran say? I don't know. And meanwhile, J.D. Vance said they're still negotiating with Iran. Did you see that? We're still negotiating. I'm like, and we knew it. You knew who was going to be the ones involved in that. You knew it. Witkoff, Kushner, J.D. Vance, you know the names. He said it yesterday. We are still negotiating with Iran, a terrorist state. What the heck? What? I'm just checking to see if there's any. This is what they're claiming. 30 ships, probably a lot of them are Chinese, if this is true. This is 2 hours ago. 30 ships have passed through the Strait of Hormuz with Iran's permission since Wednesday night. Iran state broadcaster reported, citing an IRGC naval official. Get out of town. Iran allowed several Chinese ships to pass through the Strait of Hormuz to try. They're trying to appease the Chinese because they know Xi is meeting with President Trump. And President Trump is not going to probably have a problem with the Chinese oil getting through either. Oh my God. And he's in India, the BRICS. Member states calling, this is what the foreign minister said, calling on them to explicitly condemn what he described as illegal aggression by the United States and Israel against Iran and to take concrete action to end what he called a culture of impunity among those who violate the UN Charter. This has to stop. My problem with China leadership is after annexing Tibet, they decided to annex Taiwan, so they also decided to annex Manchuria. When does it stop? I know what you're saying. Where's the line drawn? Japan and all the countries under. Yeah, I get what you're saying, Sean. It's also the islands, you're right, in South China Sea. They are in Ukraine, but check out their huge buildup in Belarus along the Polish border. Almost sounds like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. My feelings as far as with the Iranian people, the Taiwanese people, if China takes over, I know. It's so easy for us to talk about this, but what about the people themselves? That's why I said I know. It's hard. I get it. It's like we're making decisions and concluding determination for others. But that's what power does. It's just like I said in history. I just think about history, the conquerors. And what happened to the people they conquered? Thousands of years. Just look at it. It speaks for itself. We really have to get rid of these individuals. I'm serious. It's like, he said this, the foreign minister for Iran. He reaffirmed that Iran remains committed to both defending its sovereignty and advancing diplomacy. They're not trying to advance diplomacy. They have red lines, and they're not bending on those red lines. And they're ridiculous. Reparations, sanction relief, control of the strait. I mean, if you hear what they're saying, that's a non-starter. Not handing over the highly enriched uranium, being able to enrich uranium for civilian use, power plants. It goes on. The war must end throughout the entire region, including Lebanon. You think the Israelis are going to go for that? It's not realistic. I have no idea. I'm really curious to see when he gets home. Hey, there's not much going to be said. Like, we had great meetings, very productive, made business deals. You know, we agree on Iran. You're going to hear the typical stuff. I want to see what he says when he gets home, especially what happened with this whole thing with the CIA. I'm just seeing if there's anything new. So where are they? 2 hours ago, the closure of Parliament in Iran has been even more damaging than internet outages, an Iranian lawmaker said on Thursday, warning that the MPs have been left out of major decision-making process due to disruptions. Yeah, because the IRGC took over. Mustafa, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name, said Parliament remained uninformed about key national decisions and did not even have access to the head of the branch to receive reports on negotiations and the state of the internet. So they're being kept in the dark, Parliament, based on what I'm reading there. So they're not even getting informed. They're not even part of the decision making. They're being kept in the dark. So who's in control? Countries should pay Iran annual fees for fiber optic cables that pass beneath the Strait of Hormuz, an Iranian lawmaker said, saying that hundreds of billions of dollars in financial transactions move through the lines each day. So now they're going to try to hold that hostage. And that's been talked for over a week. Yeah, same stuff, different day. For real. Cuba is definitely next. If it were up to me, It would not be Cuba, but relatively it's small. It doesn't really have much to defend itself that I'm aware of. It wouldn't be, I don't think it would be that difficult. I'm just saying, I want to go after Mexico. That's what I want to do. I want to go after Mexico. Because Mexico is the core of many of the political, social, national threat for the United States. That has much more significance as a threat to the United States than Cuba. Drugs, human trafficking, smuggling, money laundering. God only knows who's coming over the border or who has come over the border. I mean, the cartels, we can go on and on and on. Mexico is definitely much more of a threat. I want to go after Mexico. That's just me, though. They're the ones responsible for a lot of what goes on here. And there's many Americans involved, too, in the money laundering aspect of it all. I have the documents to prove it. And 80% or 82.5% of those, you would think, where's fentanyl coming on? Through boats, drones. Most of it comes through points of entry. And it's 80 to 82% of Americans that are doing it and getting arrested for it. So there is a big time American connection with these cartel members and the money laundering involved. This has to be resolved. Mexico, in my opinion. Yeah, if they cut the fight, yeah, again, Sean, that's a serious issue with those. They're threatening that now. But that's been in the news for weeks already. At least a couple of weeks. Good morning, Nolly. So if it was myself, yeah, Cuba, and he's talked about it himself, Rubio, I really think we should go after Mexico. That's just my own opinion. So Sean is putting an article related to the cables under the water there in the Persian Gulf. Let's see. Yes, the internet is actually underwater. Finding out late night. Okay. I don't know if I can get the audio.
Images of cables laid down on the bottom of the ocean floor, and the caption here says, "Finding out late in life that the internet uses underwater cables on the ocean floor." Now, this is not 100% of the case, but yes, at least 95% of the global internet is actually underwater. What these cables are extremely durable and thick, ruggedized fiber optic lines. Many of them are no thicker than a garden hose, so they're not too large, and they can transfer hundreds of terabytes of data within less than a second. As of now, there are approximately 1 million miles of cable that have been laid through the ocean, which is pretty mind-blowing to think about. At the same time, though, one of the scarier aspects about these cables is that it would be really easy for a foreign adversary to attack them and cut off internet, which would ruin communication lines.
That's crazy. So now that's another thing on their radar. Hold that hostage. We just got to stop them, period. This has to end. It's never going to end. And the last thing, if they get a nuclear weapon, forget about it. It's forget it. You want to talk about being held hostage globally. It's done. They're looking to threaten anything they can get their hands on. The oil, the freaking fiber optic cables now. What's next? And we're just supposed to sit by and let this happen? Finish the job. Enough is enough. Finish the job. It's just crazy. This is such bullshit. Listen to this. What he said in India at the BRICS meeting. He said that the Strait of Hormuz remain open to commercial vessels cooperating with Iran. Well, what about vessels that are not cooperating with Iran? They have to pay you to cooperate with you in order for them to go through? Is it open access for everyone, even those you don't like, those cooperating with Iran, while blaming the United States for disruptions in the waterway. You're the one who started this shit. He told the state media on the sidelines of the BRICS foreign ministers meeting in New Delhi that Tehran had not created obstacles for shipping. Oh, so the mines are not obstacle for shipping? And called Washington's blockade on Iran illegal. Well, it's illegal for what you're doing in an international waterway. As far as we're concerned, the Strait of Hormuz is open for all commercial vessels, but they need to cooperate with our Navy forces. Oh, you're using your so-called military to control the traffic? It's international waterway. But you're using your Navy to intimidate and control it? Allegedly, your Navy, Mosquito Fleet, whatever the hell it is. It's such bullshit. It's just like, when you listen to them, do they believe the horse shit that they're putting out there? Like when they say it, do they actually believe it? Two hours ago, Bessent said that China would likely work behind the scenes to influence Tehran over the Strait of Hormuz, saying the reopening of the key energy route would benefit Beijing. Quote, I think they will work behind the scenes to an extent anyone can sway Tehran. Adding that he believed China would do what it can on the strait. Well, they can do what they can. But ultimately, Iran can say, no. Right now, meanwhile, Chinese vessels are still getting through, and the Chinese know this. So the United States is saying, well, maybe they can convince them about opening strait because it concerns China's best interest. If that's the case, why are Chinese tankers still going through? Are the Chinese really affected? Oil is going to China right now through the strait. So how does that impact them? It's like hypocrisy. It affects China, but meanwhile, tankers are heading to China with oil. So how is this hurting China? Maybe the oil, but even then, if it's coming from the UAE or Kuwait or wherever the hell, they're still allowing the Chinese tankers to flow through. Have you heard of the United States stopping any Chinese tankers going to China? What's up, Ian? The world is being built on trust, unity, and friendship. Unfortunately, the trust part is where it's being abused. Showing trust, friendship, it's about greed, power, money, corruption, globalists, the elite, world dominance. Don't be naive about what really is going on. I always would be wishful thinking and hopeful that it is about unity, friendship, trust, but is that actually realistic? That's wishful thinking. You would hope it would be that way. You know? Trust is definitely out of the, but, you know, again, those in power, it's a lot deeper than that. And they don't want to lose that influence, power, money. Oh my gosh, it's 9:30. I gotta go to the doctor soon. About an hour. Cannot wait any longer. What will happen if they're ready with their nukes? Exactly. How much longer are you gonna wait? If you're gonna take military action, how long are you gonna wait? Like I said this the other day, I wonder what Iran is doing right now. They may not be doing anything related to a nuke, but what if they are? Surprise, surprise. It's scary stuff. How do you say that they were weeks away from getting a nuke, and meanwhile 6 weeks have passed since the ceasefire started, when you said they were weeks away, and Bessent actually said they were a week away before the whole thing started? So what is true? What are they doing now? I've been texting you over and over about the elite. I know you have. I saw that, Scott. I know. I know, Scott. Nobody wants to lose power. If we were able to accept losing power, we wouldn't have achieved such feats by now. It's our curiosity and not giving up that we are here. You have to think countries are looking out for their best interests. Now, if, like I said this, and many of us have said this, what was the guy meant to take over from Star who just quit? Yeah, somebody, I don't know if it was, somebody mentioned that in chat. The door is open now. Somebody mentioned that earlier, Scott. So, the only way that I saw this as best interest in so many ways for the United States regarding Iran, yes, the people in Iran, and I hate to say it this way, I really do. If you're looking at it from a strategic point of view, you want the people of Iran to take back that country. Why? How does it benefit others in the region and the United States? What is the end game in that situation? Yes, a lot of pros happen. The people of Iran free their country from an evil regime, oppression, brutality. It becomes a democratic type state. Who knows how it evolves? What kind of system is put in place? Is it similar to the UK with a parliament, a monarchy? Who knows? But what are also the other attributes to it geopolitically? Peace in the region, recognizing Israel, stability. U.S. definitely gets specific interests in Iran in many ways. And could that help relations with China, with the U.S. and Iran, with the oil? I don't know about Russia. The proxies, money dries up. Economically, it could be a boon for the United States investments. So I see a lot of strategical importance here. And economic. Definitely social for the people of Iran. But if I'm looking at it from the best interests of the United States, that is the outcome I want. And of course, Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. Those are the benefits. But in order to get there, we have to get there. We have to make this happen. And there's an obstacle that stands in the way. It's called the IRGC. And the Supreme Mouse, Jr., and other hardliners in Iran. Finish the job. And a lot of the dominoes may start to fall. At least that's the way I see it. So let's see how this plays out, because we're still at that point. Let's see how what the end game is here. I can't even fathom coming up with a deal with these people and they stay in power. I can't even contemplate that. I just cannot see that as the end game. They survive. The regime survives. They stay in power. though weakened tremendously. But they still survive. Now, do the Iranian people have enough, even if they survive and make a deal with the United States, to overthrow this regime internally? Do you think? Those are questions. Because there are some people who believe that they can. They've already sacrificed so much. You're going to ask them to sacrifice more? Can they? Are they being armed? Have they been armed? Are they ready to take on the Basij and all these other forces that are working against them? And the proxies that enter the country to help assist the regime? And do the proxies stay intact? If Iran survives, do they survive? The threat continues. And you know that if we even do that on the side, they can't be trusted. They're going to get that nuke. They're going to get that nuke. They know they need to get that nuke now. Oh my God. So again, I don't know if people realize the consequences here. If we were to even strike a deal, and then it's going to take time to put the deal in place, negotiate the talking points in the deal, then it could be weeks or months later, oh, we don't like it, we're backing out. Because they've even said that if the deal doesn't work out, they would, if let's say they send their enriched uranium to a third country, Russia, China, wherever it goes, that they want it back in the event that the talks fail. So that's telling you already, they're already putting it out there, that down the line, if the talks don't go the way they want it to go in negotiations, it's back to square one. So all this time would have passed. The ceasefire continues, negotiations continue. Really? Really? I don't get it. And I know they're concerned about the economic pressures and social pressures, all that. Imagine a world the elites would fight, destroy, and kill on Earth for what they find in space. That would surpass anything on Earth. Thank God I won't be alive by then. New slavery to work in space or on space. The end game is Jesus. What? The end game is return the army, get so big. Return the army, get so big, the good people gets taken, and the bad are left for wars. Armageddon, nukes, Jesus. Oh, you're talking like Revelations now. Oh yeah, you rather read Revelations? Yes. A lot of people are talking on this as biblical, prophetic, that we're living in end times. A lot of people out there believe that. Yeah, ceasefire was a big mistake to me too. Just bought them more time. And again, I'll say it. But it gave us time too. Time for what? Restock? Get the other assets in the area? The Tripoli? Whatever happened to the Boxer? I haven't heard much about the Boxer. I hear the Tripoli. Is the Boxer there? It should be by now, right? Is it there? Anybody can confirm that? I think they have more military equipment than before the war began. Again, do we really know? Does the Mossad and the CIA really know? Does Space Force really know? It's a valid question. And yes, it is time for other countries to get involved, because this is just as important, if not more, to them than it is to us. Yes. Totally agree. United. Unity. What, are they going to take on the whole fucking world? Excuse my language? That's the kind of pressure you want to put Iran. What, you're going to take us all on now? That's what I would do. I would have such an international force, naval force in the Strait. Okay, We dare you now to target all of us. Because then it's your end for sure. But they won't do it. I know that the UK is sending in, and the French are sending in, the Germans have sent in. But they're alleging this is for defensive purposes only. Or when it's over, to go in and help clean up the mines, the Germans. It's crazy. It is crazy. But again, it's almost like, I hate to say it, we always hear about red lines that were drawn before by other administrations. How many red lines have been drawn here and then only to expire, to be extended? How many red lines have been made only to extend those red lines? I never want to hear about red lines again being crossed. Well, it's delay. When do you finally do something about it? When you make a statement of a red line only to back off the red line to stall. Because you know the ramifications of crossing that red line and what it could mean to our troops, the region, global impact. They're weighing a lot of things right now. It's not an easy decision moving forward. Whatever they decide to do, it's not going to be an easy choice. It's not that easy. So, like I said, we still have to see how this plays out. And like I said, they're still negotiating. They're still trying to talk to these people. Who are you talking to? Who do you think you're talking to? They're puppets. What the foreign minister says, or Ghalibaf has gotten a little bit more tougher with his talk. Mr. IRGC. They're all, and that's another thing that somebody brought up in chat. These people are all IRGC. Former members. Then you got the religious nut jobs. The hardliners. Starting at the top. And then, of course, the military aspect of it all. The IRGC, Basij, security forces, proxies from other countries. This is a mess, to say the least. So what do you do? And you know they're not stupid. They're probably embedded in the population, hiding amongst people, dressed in civilian clothes, blending in, living. So what are you going to do? Target populated areas to try to take out these individuals? It's exactly what they want. They want human shields. We've heard that for decades. That's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to use human shields. So in order to take them out, there's going to be a lot of innocent people at risk. Yeah, crazy people, they don't get it. So this is complicated. Look, the people, and they have been targeting, and it's been going on for quite some time. Remember the drive-bys taking out IRGC police commanders? We've seen the videos. Tusi showed the videos of the resistance driving upside to a car and taking somebody out. There needs to be more of that internally in Iran to take out these people. But they need the forces, they need the arms to do it. Because they know where they are. Most likely a lot of them do. But they're probably also living in areas that are pro-regime. They're not going to, you know what I mean? Those areas, those compounds where their families are located, IRGC members' families, that's where they're going to be, but in the population of those areas that support the regime. It makes total sense. Because they'll be protected by these individuals, most of them. You still might have a few that might say, oh, that's working with the Mossad or whoever. But they're not stupid. Yeah, they brought a whole bunch of people over there, Scott, on that plane. Oh yeah, and you, like you said, it's like exactly what you said. It's the elite. Look who was there. All they do in Germany, what? All they do in Germany need time too much, too long time. It's with all things in Germany. It's a big problem. So it's like everything takes so long to happen. Have you? Oh yeah, I read that. That's why I can't see boots on the ground. We may not have any choice. I don't know about that. I think if it's properly done on the ground within Iran, but to get them armed is the key. But allegedly it is going on. You hear conflicting reports that they are being armed. And the other story, yeah, whatever faction of Kurds, they're not Kurds, not Kurds, factions, whatever the hell it is. The point is, that could actually be where they want to emphasize the attention on that. Meanwhile, something's going on elsewhere to provide assistance on the ground. Focus on the Kurds, focus on the Iraqi separatist groups, focus on that. And they have been. The Iranians have been targeting. But that could also be part of the 4D chess game. The president, to say it publicly, I'm not so happy with the Kurds. I'm very disappointed in the Kurds. The weapons we sent, they kept them. That could all be part of the chess game. Focus over there. Meanwhile, something else is going on elsewhere. You know what I mean? Could all be part of it. I just hope they're getting the support on the ground that they need. The Iranian people. To fight back. To give them a fighting chance. I guess time will tell. Trust in the only saving grace and God's sacrifice for all people. You're right, Bill. It's about love and peace among people and God. But I wrote it in one of my songs. There's a lot of demonic forces. There's a lot of evil. Evil intent. I would almost say, in a weird way, politically, you think about how many anarchists are out there trying to stir up chaos, destruction. It's evil. As an analogy, there's always that intent out there. How do we get rid of it? The power of prayer, faith. It has to start from somewhere. From youth. I mean, how were they manipulated, brainwashed, or how do people become that way? Indoctrinated. That's another root that has to be examined. The breakdown. And to stop that repetitive process, it just keeps going. You got to cut it off somewhere. You know what I mean? And AI is another. Who put that? Scott. Oh. Look, I believe that AI can be incredibly useful for science, medical. It definitely has its positive attributes, I think, implications. But what is it usually, like anything else, the weaponization of technology. The weaponization. Think about it. How much actually goes to applied sciences to benefit humankind? How long does it take before it even gets to that level? That's scary. or for the advancement of sciences in a positive way. Now, that would be hopeful. That would be... It's a telegram. AI taking over and that control nukes ever. Yes! That's what reminds me of Skynet. Scott, that's what it kind of reminds me of. It's like science fiction becoming science reality. Or even an old movie, War Games. Remember War Games with Matthew Broderick, I think his name was? It's a game. Scary. Scary. Let me see what Telegram is saying. And look, all of us, I said this over and over too. I value all your opinions. Now, like anything else, you may not agree with me on a lot of things I say. I may not agree. But you know what? Having a discussion in a civil way and speaking about it is constructive because it makes us think. Do you know what I mean? And I will say this, 98% of the things you guys say in chat, I agree. And it makes me think, that's a great point. It may, and I'll be honest, it may change my approach or opinion on something because I'm open to that. I have no problem with that. And that's why it's constructive, because we can have a forum where we can have a discussion. You know, and we all have our personal interests, like the cap I'm wearing. But still, I respect other people's opinion. They may not agree with me politically or religiously, socially, or whatever. But what's important is to have a conversation about things. A place where we can have a civil conversation with respect. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I'm even open to hearing people that have an opinion on the other side, just to see what they're saying. Now, do I agree with it? No. But I'm not going to be part of the censorship and not give people a voice as long as they're respectful. And the vast majority of us may not agree, but it's also interesting to me to hear what their points of view are. And some people say, "What? My God, why give them a platform?" Because then you're just like everything else. You're censoring, you're trying to control. I'd rather have everyone have a voice as long as it's respectful. Because then I'm a hypocrite. Do I really represent freedom of speech, freedom of expression? Do I? If I'm going to silence people that I don't agree with? Or it's going to become a shouting match? I don't want that. A conversation in a civil way is the best way to go. To me, at least. All right, let's see what Telegram is saying here. I should be keeping an eye on what's going on also. I was keeping an eye on the White House. Because if anybody, I'm keeping an eye on this just in case. Just in case they go live from China. I mean, Cara Levitt will still do her usual thing. That'll probably be at 1 o'clock. Uh-oh. What are they putting out? Hezbollah. Oh, yeah. Did you see this? I heard about this when I woke up. It's allegedly, this is what the UK MTO is reporting, that the Iranians boarded and seized a vessel off the UAE and is now taking it to Iran. Let me see what it says. Has received the report of an incident northeast of the UAE They reported that the vessel has been taken by unauthorized personnel while anchored and is now bound for Iranian territorial waters. So they're still at it. They're still at it. I forgot to mention that this morning. No, so meanwhile, Iran is still doing their bullshit. Of course, they're targeting the UAE. Okay, this is more Hezbollah stuff. There's a lot going on between Hezbollah and Israel in southern Lebanon. A lot. With the drones especially. The Israelis have to figure out a way to counter these drones. Ha! Look what he said. The foreign minister. Just listen. This is a quote from him directly. There is no military solution to any issue concerning Iran. Probably listening to what China said about the military solution in the Strait of Hormuz. There is no military solution in any issue concerning Iran, and the Iranians will never surrender to any pressure or threat. We are ready to fight with all our might for our freedom, and we are ready for diplomacy. It must be clear to everyone, notice the language, that Iran is invincible, and the more pressure applied on it, the stronger it becomes. That sounds like a message going to China. Iranian leaders have stood courageously alongside their people, a small portion, and have made sacrifices in recent years. Iran has been subjected to 2 brutal and illegal acts of aggression by the U.S. and Israel. Our armed forces are ready to respond decisively to the attackers. Does this sound like a bunch you can negotiate with? That's what I said. Wait till Trump comes home. That's what I said. That's a great point too. The mental health issues, the stress, the anxieties, especially those who have family members of the military in that region right now. Especially for them. That would be something to watch. So that's what he said. They're just like, this is like mental. This is like you're dealing with people that are mentally ill. What is this? All Hezbollah. I'm looking at Israel News on Telegram. Most of it is related to Hezbollah and what's going on in southern Lebanon. And it's amazing because they share a lot of the same information on all the Israeli news outlets, which is what I follow, just to see what they're saying. What is Amir saying? Oh shit. The Iranians released, and it definitely looks like flight radar type stuff. It does look like flight radar. And which, according to OSINT sources, the flight path of Prime Minister Netanyahu on March 26 to the UAE can be seen. So the UAE has been denying that it happened, but Amir is saying that you can actually see that he did indeed go, even though the UAE is denying it. Oh, God only knows what that is. Let me just take that off for a second. Because there was 2 images. Here's the other image. So, despite that the UAE is denying that Netanyahu ever went to the UAE, contrary to that, there's data showing otherwise. Now, how do we know he was on that plane? Couldn't have been somebody else? Oh, that thing I just showed on the screen was in Arabic by the IDF to tell people in Shiite villages in southern Lebanon to evacuate. Oh my God. Wow, in France. This is in Germany. No, not Germany. This is France. This is the kind of things you'll see blaming Israel for the high prices in the pump. It's in France, not Germany. So this is what's appearing in certain areas in France. Wow. I'm just trying to catch up. I do have to leave soon to go to the doctor. Pretty much everything that they're saying here is already what we covered. I think this is what Rubio said. I think China's preference is probably to have Taiwan willingly, voluntarily joining them. In a perfect world, what they would want is some vote or referendum in Taiwan that agrees to fold in. I think that's what they would prefer. Ultimately, it's featured prominently in President Xi's mandate in the time he's been in office. He's made clear that what they call reunification, what they call it, it's something that has to happen at some point. We think it would be a terrible mistake to force that through force or anything of that nature. Rubio.
He did, and it was important because the Chinese side said they are not in favor of militarizing the Straits of Hormuz, and they're not in favor of a tolling system. And that's our position.
Could that comment by the foreign minister be related to what they're getting the vibe now from what was discussed between Xi? That's why they were nervous. And President Trump? They don't care what anybody says. That's why they were a little nervous. My God, all they do is Hezbollah. The other side right now today, they're talking everything Hezbollah. And again, this vessel that they took, allegedly. Iran has boarded and seized a vessel off the coast of the UAE. The vessel is being redirected toward Iranian territorial waters. Good morning, C. UAE from the beginning did not want to get involved in this war, and look what happened. Now they're denying his visit. They're afraid. It's all getting out of hand. It is. It's all getting out of hand. They don't want to send a signal that they're working with and appeasing or whatever, how they view it with Israel, especially to the other Arab countries. It's like raising probably a flag between them. And you see, this is coming from the other side as well, people that support. Minister Ben, what is it? Veer raises the flag of Israel on the Temple Mount today. We have restored sovereignty. The Temple Mount is in our hands. That is not the kind of message you want to put at this time. They need to, this is not going to help. This is, and he is.
בהר הבית, השנה היה הרמדאן הכי שקט, זה בא בזכות הרתעה, הר הבית בידינו, הר הבית שלנו.
That doesn't help. If you want a cooperation with the Arab countries, doing something like that is not the smartest thing to do, in my opinion. Unbelievable. I don't know, sometimes you shake your head. You really gonna do that on the Temple Mount? Claiming its sovereignty, Israel has control. Are you serious? That, to me, that's just stupid. I don't get it sometimes. I just don't. You're trying to get the Arab countries united and the whole cause, and you're going to do something like that? Yeah, John, I agree. I bet everyone in chat feels the same powerless as we all see what's coming. Well, there can only be truly two outcomes here. Really. Either, and I don't know what would happen after a military action by the United States and Israel, and whoever else. What the outcome of that would be. It's either that, or by some crazy cray, a deal is reached. Then what? Again, the unknowns. Do we act militarily? What are the targets? What is the success? Does Iran cave? Does the Strait get reopened? Does the regime totally collapse, truly? Or do we hear about a deal and this gets extended, God knows how long? Ceasefire keeps going, another 30 days. While we negotiate a deal, we're working with them. Progress is being made. We're gonna meet.
It's 58 degrees
Alexa,
and
stop.
raining right now.
Alexa,
Today's
stop.
high will be
Alexa,
60,
stop.
rain
We're going back to Islamabad to hold more meetings. JD's on the way with Witkoff and Kushner. What do you guys think?
The Mets face the
Alexa,
Giants today.
stop. What do you guys think? What could be the outcome here? I don't see any other solution. Or Iran surrenders? Do you think Iran's going to surrender? I don't know. And it is a helpless feeling. It really is. I ain't buying into this bullshit that somebody put on X about Tahoe. There's a lot of garbage on X. So what do you guys think in chat? Do you think there'll be some Iran nuclear threatens is near? I totally agree with that. I wouldn't be surprised they're working on that shit right now. during the ceasefire that they're actually developing, I don't know what kind of a yield, but something related to nuclear right now, even if it's dirty. I would not doubt they're doing that shit right now. Shows they're scared of the China trip. I've been saying it. Have we been not saying it? It looks like they're very nervous about this China trip and the meeting with President Trump and Xi. I've said it. There were like signs. Their media outlets were putting out a lot of stuff. They showed a lot of concern about this meeting. Shows this, okay. World chaos. Oh my God. Iran oil stops. And you don't think they care? They don't care if the shit implodes, as long as they survive. People are counting too much about this embargo, blockade. Iran's gonna collapse. Their oil's gonna explode. People are betting way too much on that. You're dealing with an extremist jihadi regime. They'll take this till they're all gone. They'll take this as martyrs. They will die for this. The people are going to suffer. You think the oil stopping is going to stop them? The money dries up? Do you know that they're funneling through Turkey and through the Caspian Sea? As long as they have some type of resources, you have to shut it all down. Not just the oil. They're still doing some slimy shit in other places. Land bridges, the Caspian. Is it enough to keep the regime alive and to keep the IRGC going? I don't know. This oil that's going to China, is it for free? Are they not getting recompensated by China? What is that? I mean, really? Really? There's oil arriving in China soon, coming from Iran. So what happens to that? They don't get paid by the Chinese? We think there's a total blockade. There are tankers getting through, especially going to China. So, I mean, yes, their production, they're full, storage is full. It's a matter of time before that implodes, but are we counting on that? How long do you think before that causes them to surrender? Is that what we're banking on? How long does that happen? Weeks? Months? This drags on. Meanwhile, while this time goes by, TikTok, they're working on something. I don't know if we have weeks or months to wait for them to implode, economically collapse completely before they come up with a card. We have a nuke. Willing to bet on that? I'm not a betting person like that. I'm not willing to bet on that. These people are cray-cray. I guarantee Vahidi, remember the IRGC is running the show right now. You can bet your freaking money that they are working round the clock to develop a surprise. Whatever that is. And that scares me. The more we draw this out, the more we wait, the worse this could be. I'm not saying it will be. It could be. I don't like to take unnecessary risks and say, oh, I'm going to put all my chips here and say, this is going to work. We're going to put everything betting here. All the chips are going to this economic fury aspect. They're going to collapse, betting all the chips there. No, absolutely not. That's just me, though. I'm sure other people have a different opinion. They believe that they will collapse. They will come to the table. They're going to be forced to come to the table because they are economically done. Totaled. No more money. if that is true, if that were the case, they have to cut them off completely. There's nothing going on. And I've been saying it with this Caspian Sea, and now those people are starting to pay attention to what's going on in the Caspian Sea. It's been going on the whole time. The whole fucking time. What's going on up there? How do we know? Space Force? Satellite imagery? What's the traffic like? You know Russia's helping and benefiting. Exactly. You cannot trust them. And they don't have a problem becoming martyrs for the cause. I truly, we don't really know. We really don't. Now, maybe intelligence knows. Maybe the United States knows behind closed doors, and we're not aware of the intelligence and what they know, obviously. They may know a lot more than we do. That's why they're banking on it. And the deals, and the deals, and the deals, and the deals. J.D. Vance said it yesterday. We're making progress in negotiations. With whom? With what? Is the Iran's, like historically they've done, come up with public rhetoric, but behind the scenes they're begging? I don't know. Don't know. I guess it depends on what you believe. But again, I'm not betting on this stuff. A lot of people have lost a lot of money in Polymarket already betting on stuff. Just saying. So, I honestly don't know. I mean, I'm in the dark as much as anybody else is, and I guess maybe that's intentional. Look at this individual said today, this morning, from Iran. Another parliament member. U.S. President Donald Trump only understands the language of missiles and military power, not diplomacy. Your version of diplomacy. He added that Iran's foreign ministry must follow the 10 conditions set by the Supreme National Security Council and approved by the Supreme Leader, allegedly the cardboard man, in negotiations with the United States. He said any retreat from those conditions would embolden the enemy and intensify its demands. So they're standing by these points. They keep saying these statements. Now, obviously, it's going to the supporters of the regime, and they have to put out this narrative that they're being tough. The rhetoric. Is it true? Is it true even coming from the mouse, Junior? God only knows. Has anybody really seen him, or has he appeared? No. I don't know. I mean, this is what, and that's why I say, moderates. Who are the moderates in Iran? How many are there? If they exist, they're a very small majority of so-called moderates. The vast majority are hardliners, IRGC members, cray-cray mullahs and clerics, jihadists. How are you thinking you're going to make a deal that could stick, negotiating with anyone in Iran? How, that's paper bullshit. It's worthless. And you honestly think you can make a deal that's going to stick with whoever the hell you're talking to? Seriously? Are you that delusional? Oh, no. It's all part of the plan. I mean, does this not freak everybody out when you hear the same bullshit over and over? It's Groundhog Day every day. It's crazy. And that's why I say, and I'm sure the intelligence exists, and I know the Israelis definitely are focusing on it. Wipe out all these fuckers. Wipe them all out. Every one of them. As many as you can. I hate to say it like that. Because, it's kind of crazy to say that you wish others to be unalived. I'm not on TikTok. I would never say that. Like, normally, I wish someone dead. But in this case, in order for change to really happen here, and to move forward and get rid of this threat and free the Iranian people and free the region of... It may have to come to, you need to physically eliminate, remove these individuals. If you leave any of them behind, it stays. The cancer stays. You got to remove the cancer completely. I see no other way out of this. You cannot deal with this. And I can't stand when they say, well, we got rid of one layer of leadership, we got rid of the other, and that's regime change. Are you out of your mind? Do you believe the bullshit that you're saying when you say that? You got to eliminate, if not all, most of these individuals. The core, the structure of the regime. You want to see collapse? You'll see collapse. Because then who's calling the shots? Who's making the decisions? There's nobody left. Truly. Well, you're going to have a bunch of military people running around. Who are they getting their orders from? From each other? Chaos? It's chaos. You create chaos. You don't have any of these parliament members or anybody else talking. They're all gone, let's just say. They're all gone. Or as many as you can. Vahidi goes, that police commander that's still out there. These clerics, mullahs, hardliners, judiciary, assembly of experts. If you remove the main core of that, then you're talking about true regime collapse and change. That's how it happens. You gotta go after these 400 plus people. I'm serious. I hate to say it, but if you truly want change, you're giving the Iranian people the opportunity to take back their country. Now it's game on. There'll be an utter chaos. It would be utter chaos. Who's running the country? Does that not make sense? Who's calling the shots? If you remove the upper echelon and some of these hardliner, you say you know who the moderates are, allegedly. I don't believe anyone's a moderate. It's death to America. The great Satan. All of a sudden they're moderates? You could work with them? You are the enemy. You killed Soleimani, whatever his name is. They put a target on you. And these are the people you want to work with in a deal? You trust these people? Any of them? No. Absolutely freaking not. So I never bought into this negotiation deal bullshit. Never. Some people believe it. That you can make a deal with these people. I don't know how. They don't have a track record of being trustworthy. Or even being moderates. When I heard moderate, I almost flipped out. We're dealing with moderates. These are the fuckers that are trying to save their asses and stay in power. And they'll say, oh, we're just trying to save the country. They're trying to save themselves. They're trying to survive. You really think these people care about the people, the whole country? They care about their regime supporters. Did they care about anybody else? They probably don't even care about their supporters when it comes down to it. They care about themselves, survival. That's what they care about. Everything else is secondary. Their primary is themselves, survival. So I am not buying into all this bullshit. And I hope other people aren't buying into this nonsense either. A deal. With who? We're still negotiating. Progress is being made. With who? Name some names. Tell us who they are. Who are you negotiating with? It's actually ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous. They just stall, playing for time. Meanwhile, like I mentioned a gazillion times, what are they doing? What are they developing? What are they working on? Oh shit. And that's another thing I was just going to bring up, and it just came up on the screen. You think Israel's going to wait? You honestly think Israel's going to stand by and just keep waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting? It's a matter of time. It is a matter of time. Oh shit. Take this for what it's worth. Israel will need to act soon again soon in Iran. Defense Minister Israel Katz announced during the memorial ceremony for IDF soldiers who fell during the Six-Day War and the War of Attrition. MK Nassim Vaturi also warned that Israel is closer than ever to returning to fighting in Iran, adding that he would, quote, think twice about whether to fly anywhere next week. And then the comment, tomorrow night could be interesting. Markets closed. May 15th. I have to see if this is true. See, Israel's not messing around. They're not going to wait forever. I got to go in a few minutes. I want to see if I can find this actual quote. In a radio interview. He did say it in a radio interview. And the quote, the headline on this, what does he know, in caps? Israeli MK Nassim Vaturi, a member of the Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee, said in a radio interview, quote, we are closer than ever to a return to fighting against Iran. If I were planning to fly this coming weekend, I would. Next week, I think twice. He said, you better fly out this weekend while you still can, because next week I think twice. What does he know? This is just coming out. All right, I'm just going to share this on the screen. Again, take it with a pile. Where is it? 12 minutes ago. See, this is Tehran announced that it had allowed dozens of Chinese ships to exit freely. See, that's somebody's comment, so I don't like going to private accounts. Where is it? Where's the comment? Right here. 33 minutes ago. I advise to think twice if to plan flights in the next day. So it's kind of taking it out of. He said something today at this memorial ceremony. What does he know? Look. Something might be going on. Again, major pile of salt. But it is interesting that he made that comment. And it's funny because I was going to say, Israel's not going to wait. They might have an intelligence that's saying, we need to hit them now. Or people will say, Israel's just trying to draw the United States back into a conflict with Iran. Or you could look at it as Israel goes in by themselves and the United States can say, we didn't attack Iran, we're supporting Israel. Like a loophole kind of deal. We're only coming to the defense of Israel. I don't know what you're all thinking, but this is interesting. But that's what's breaking, like coming out right now. And it's starting to spread. Iran International is putting it. They're putting it out too. I mean, is something coming? I don't know. We read this earlier. And yeah, we know what. See these clerics, these freaking. This is. I mean, this is just the same shit. He's talking about AI. Riyadh floats Middle East non-aggression pact with Tehran. What is Saudi Arabia up to? Saudi Arabia says a potential non-aggression pact between Middle Eastern states and Iran as part of talks on managing regional tensions after the U.S.-Israeli war ends. Riyadh was considering a model similar to the 1970s Helsinki process that eased Cold War tensions in Europe. Said the non-aggression pact model along the lines of Helsinki process will be welcomed by most Arab and Muslim states as well as by Iran. It all depends who is in it. In the current climate, you are not going to be able to get Iran and Israel. Without Israel, it could be a counterproductive because after Iran, they are seen as the biggest source. Wow. Because after Iran, they are seen as the biggest source of conflict. The report quoted the Arab diplomat as saying, Iran is not going anywhere, and this is why the Saudis are pushing it. Wow, they consider Israel the second biggest concern for conflict. Iran first, Israel second. And that's why a lot of them are hesitant. Because they're not exactly wanting to help Israel either. Alexa, what are the Arab states that identify Israel as a state?
Egypt, Jordan, Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, Sudan, and Morocco are the Arab states that recognize Israel. These countries have established diplomatic relations through various peace agreements.
Big players are not on that
normalization
list.
deals.
And what are the countries that do not recognize the state of Israel in the Middle East?
Several Middle Eastern countries don't recognize Israel, including Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman, and Libya also don't recognize Israel as a state.
That's a lot. I forgot about asking Turkey.
Yeah, the Middle East situation is pretty complex with all those different diplomatic positions. It's one of those geopolitical puzzles where history, religion, and politics all intersect.
And like I said, you can forget about Turkey with Israel relations.
Israel's relationship has been complex. Turkey was the first Muslim-majority country to recognize Israel in 1949, but relations have deteriorated under Erdogan's administration. Since the October 7th attacks, Turkey has condemned Israel and backed Hamas, with Erdogan announcing plans to sever diplomatic ties in November 2024.
Alexa, stop. Crypto clarity bill is being voted on right now. So it's complex, because a lot of them don't recognize the state of Israel. But the Abraham Accords helped, especially with Saudi Arabia and Israel. But then all shit hit the fan, which I believe was part of the process of creating chaos and making that kind of like a problem, to say the least. So it is complicated in the region with relations with Israel. And they don't want to be seen as becoming allies of Israel because they don't even recognize Israel. And it's the big players. I mean, look, you could see what kind of ally Jordan is, not just to the Israelis, but to the United States. Egypt always is like a concern to me. Then who do you got? Morocco? The UAE, you could see there's a bond there between Israel, obviously, and the UAE. But the other big players have not recognized the state of Israel. They see them as a threat. After Iran now. How do you fix that? So they don't want to be seen as supporting Israel. That's why the UAE came out with that statement denying that Netanyahu flew to the UAE, because it's going to make the other Arab countries be like, what the F are you doing? We're not on the same page here when it comes to Israel. So they backtracked. So it is complicated. So that does not surprise me when I see this. And definitely the Saudis definitely want to become a major influence in the region, as well as Turkey. Who's going to be the one in the forefront? Like becoming that major influential country with the other Arab countries. Do you know what I mean? And definitely money, follow the money. Absolutely. Absolutely, John. Oh my God, it's 10:30. I got to get ready. I already showered and I'm ready to go, but I have to get ready to leave like in 10 minutes. Let's go to the doctor. So I'm sure there's going to be breaking news regarding what the heck is going on in the UK. I'm sure Tusi will be all over that. Because that is a major developing story, what's going on in the UK. With Starmer, that whole thing that's going on over there. My gosh. Still, we'll probably hear more coming from China. I'm sure we're going to hear Iran putting out propaganda and rhetoric, as always. Hezbollah, Southern Lebanon, Israel. There's so many things going on. And I'm not even talking about Ukraine, Russia, or NATO, or Poland, or any other place, or Cuba, or anywhere else. But keep an eye, because it's going to be interesting. Let me think about this. If he leaves at 12 noon Friday from China, or 1, say, that's 1 a.m. Eastern time. How long was his trip did it take to get to land in China? Now there's the time zone flip. Because then you got to consider that. What time would it actually be when he lands in D.C.? Will the president be home Eastern time by tomorrow night? if he leaves at 12 a.m., no, say 1 a.m. Eastern time, Friday morning, say even 2, does anybody know how long it took him to stop at Anchorage, Alaska to do that whole trip? How many hours it was? It's got to be at least 10, 12 hours? I don't even know. I wasn't keeping track of that. So theoretically, say it takes 16 hours. If he leaves at 2 a.m., that means he gets here by 6 p.m. Friday, Eastern. It's going to be interesting to see what he says when he gets off that plane and heads to Marine One or into the Beast, whatever, however he gets to the White House. It's going to be interesting to see his comments. Could be a very interesting weekend. But remember, J.D. Vance said it yesterday, we're still negotiating. He said it. Progress is being made in talks with Iran. He said it last night. I'm going to look that up, what he said exactly. And it's like, what? Yeah, here we go. And I'm not even going to click on what Al Jazeera is saying. Here it is. This is actually what he said.
The president before he left for Beijing.
Hold on.
On Iran, can you tell us where negotiations stand? The president before he left for Beijing called the latest proposal unacceptable. So is the U.S. even talking to the Iranians right now, or where are things at this point?
Yeah, so look, obviously these negotiations are very sensitive. I'm not going to tell you everything because we're trying to have a productive conversation. I spent a good amount of time on the phone with both Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff this morning, a number of our friends in the Arab world this morning. Look, I think that we are making progress. The fundamental question is, do we make enough progress that we satisfy the president's red line? And the red line is very simple. He needs to feel confident that we've put a number of protections in place such that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, right? That is the question. Do we meet that threshold or not? I think that we've made a lot of progress since we left Pakistan. I thought we made some progress in Pakistan, but we've made more since then. But that is fundamentally what we're negotiating towards, is we want to be able to look the American people in the eye and say with confidence that you are not going to have to worry about this very, very dangerous regime having access to the most dangerous weapons in the world. That's the goal that we're focused on. Again, there's a lot of ways to accomplish that goal. The president has set us off on the diplomatic pathway for now, and that's what I'm focused on.
Groundhog Day. It sounds like the same thing they've been saying for weeks. And it's the typical players. It's the vice president, Witkoff, and Kushner. It's the same voices. Trying to deal with the Arab countries. With Pakistan, that I don't trust at all. They're still trying. They're still pushing this diplomatic. Exactly, it's the same old. It's like, this is madness. It's freaking Groundhog Day every day. The president said it was trash. He didn't even finish reading. He threw it in the garbage. And these people are still trying to say that there's progress being made. Progress on what? On something the president said is garbage? That's progress? This is totally unacceptable. What the hell's changed? What? Since the president made the comment about that a few days ago, Monday. They're delusional. I'm telling you. Of course, the Arab countries are probably trying to put whatever persuasion and influence. Keep talking. Stay on the table. Because they don't want to get hit. If military option resumes, they know they're going to be targeted. Of course they're going to say that. Common sense. They're going to push. They've been pushing it since talks were originally going to start in Turkey, and then it got moved to Oman. How long has that been since? At some point, the president has to say enough is enough. I mean, Am I? I can't even speak. Am I the only one that's freaking out over this nonsense? And this is why I support this man. That's just another reason. I hate to say it, but it's almost like what a Democratic administration would do. What he's saying. It's almost like a Democrat saying it. I could hear that shit from a Democrat saying those words. I'm like, what? What? Deal. Negotiating. Progress. The president said it was garbage. He didn't even finish reading it. And you're spinning it that progress has been made since Pakistan? How can you say that when the president said on Monday, this is garbage? I didn't even finish reading it. Oh, but progress has been made since we left Pakistan. Wait a minute. There's some mixed signals going on here. Either progress is made. If progress is made, then the president would have said it. So I don't know what the hell is going on. And there has been talk that there are people in the administration that are pushing diplomacy. We know who they are. It's obvious. And they keep pushing it. Isn't it? I mean, I don't, to the American people, my gosh, I can't take it. And I don't think a lot of people can take it anymore. Listen, either you strike a deal by compromising your position. That's what it's going to take. You're going to have to compromise. Because it doesn't look like the Iranians are going to compromise. So either you bend, which I would never do, and I don't think the president's going to do. They want to. Or the other option, which he kind of alluded to, the president's options. Again, it's like, I hate to say because I got to get off now. It's Groundhog Day again. When I hear comments like this, I had to play so you could hear it for yourself. When I heard that last night, I was like, wait a minute, what? Wait, what? You said what? Progress is being made? This morning? Yesterday morning? Progress? Talking to the Arab countries, the friends? What? What? The president is in fucking China. And all kinds of shit is going on. And I will say this. I would never, ever undermine what the president says. I don't care who you are. The vice president, I don't care who you are. It almost sounds like he's contradicting the president. Listen, when you do things, you either all are on the same page, you're all on the same page with the president, whether you agree or disagree. You follow the president's lead. You do not contradict or conflict. The messaging has to be the same. That's just my opinion. When you say things like that, I did not hear this from President Trump. I hate when I've been saying this, I hate when they speak in front of the president. I want to hear from the president. It's like you're stepping in and you're stepping on his toes when you say things like this. And it's not like you want to be clear with the American people. You are confusing the American people when you make statements like that. It's actually contrary. The president says this on Monday, and now you're saying this today or yesterday, last night, whatever time it was yesterday. Which one is it? all that does is add confusion. You're not clarifying anything with the American people. You're adding more confusion when you make statements like that. In my opinion, that's just my opinion. You guys reach your own conclusions, but that's the way I view it, the way I see it. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? So that's why I really want to see what the president says, not anybody else. I want to see what President Trump says. Because he is the commander-in-chief, no one else. He'll make the decision. Anyway, I need to go now because I am pushing it now that I got to leave to go to the doctor. My love, I send my love to all of you, wherever you are in the world. God bless our troops. God bless our country. God bless the president. Protect them from evil forces. And I mean everyone, including all of us here at home and abroad. And don't put your guard down. Pay attention to your surroundings. Always. And if Navy Mom is watching, and anybody else who has military, over there serving anywhere in the world, really, domestic or abroad, tell them we thank them, we love them, we support them, and that we welcome them home. And for the UK folks, I hope everything works out for you all over there. And you kind of like, I don't want to, because I don't want to speak on what's going on over there, but I hope you all get what you want. And that's dignity and pride to be a citizen in the UK with respect for everyone. And to be, I swear I'm going to get little flags, even if they're little bumper stickers. The UK, US, there's going to have to be a bunch of flags put up here. Little stickers. I'm going to do it. It has to. I'll put a Union Jack. What are they going to do to me? I will support the UK people. Good luck, Starmer. Try coming and doing that shit here in the United States. Ain't going to happen. You're not going to stop us from commenting and supporting the people of the UK. That you won't do for all the peoples, not just a certain group, but everyone, and their freedom of speech and expression. Period. And I hope the French do something right next year when they're gonna vote for their next president. Things gotta change. Change has to start. It has to start now. Should have been yesterday. Change has to happen. Otherwise, we're going down a very dark rabbit hole for our futures. All of us. We're on the precipice here. We really are. If we don't do something about this now, a very dark path, and yes, like some have mentioned, and as a Catholic, prophetic, biblical proportions. And I don't like to bring up the religion because the same lunatics on the other side is using religion for a jihadi holy war. That's why I stay away from it. But as a Catholic, looking at this, I cannot but wonder if this is prophetic. And we're at that time. That's all I'm going to say. That's why I try to stay away from it, because they're the ones that are making this about a holy jihad war. And I don't want to fall into their trap of using religion in the same way on my end. Because that's what they're doing. But in a sick way, evil way. So I'm going to get off now. Keep an eye out for Tusi. Keep an eye out for all the platforms you keep getting informed. Whether it's Goldie, Armin, Tusi, whoever it is. Keep an eye on the developments, because it's rapid, it's fluid, and it's constant. So, good morning, Yo-Yo. Have a great morning, all of you. John, Helmut, Marianne, all of you. John, everybody watching on any of the platforms. Have a great rest of your afternoon, evening, whatever it is. I'll see everybody later. And you guys can inform me when I miss out on the